Hello there, welcome back to art class. This is your last art class for the entire school year. I'm looking forward to seeing you next year when you're a year older and that much better, and do some art in person together. So for now though, we're going to work online. Today you're going to need some crayons, and it would be good if they were old crayons, maybe some broken pieces, little bits that you don't care about. Maybe you have just old crayons lying around. You'll need those. You'll need paper. If you can get a cheese grater, that would be great. If not, we'll talk about that later. And you're going to need some wax paper and help from a parent because we're going to need to iron. We're doing a project that I used to do when I was a kid, so I hope you enjoy this. Please go gather your items and I will meet you back here in a few minutes. All right, let's get started on this. These are the things that you're going to need to have for this project. You're going to need some old pieces of crayons. So if you have broken bits, that's perfect. They can even be really tiny broken bits like this one. See how small that is? You will need a cutting board and some help from mom or dad because you're going to need to either use a sharp knife, which they will use the sharp knife, I'm sure, for you, or if you have a cheese grater, they can use a cheese grater. So we need to get some help from them at the beginning and then again at the end because we're going to use a hot iron for this. So this is a project I did when I was little and I hope you like it. You'll also need 2 pieces of this. This is wax paper. If you don't have wax paper, you can kind of do something similar on regular, like a printer paper. We'll talk about that later. It's a slightly different effect, but you can still have fun with that. And then you need to go outside and gather up some little pieces of things. Like I have some beautiful leaves off my Japanese maple tree right here, and I have something off of a cherry tree, or cherry plum tree, and another maple tree, and then even some little pieces of, it's hard to see, but little sprigs of flowers. So gather up some things like that. I think smaller items work better on this one. And if you have something like a flower petal, they're very moist. There's a lot of liquid inside the flower petal. If you squish it with your hand and you get the juice on your hand, it's probably a little bit too wet for what we need to do. Maybe one petal will work, but not a whole entire flower. Okay, so step 1 is the part that we're going to need the parents for. And let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see. If you have a cheese grater, you're just going to take the crayon, and if this is the cheese grater, you're just going to grate it like you're grating cheese. You're looking to get little bits of the crayon. But I'm going to use this knife on a cutting board. I'm just kind of scraping. Okay, and you don't need to do the whole entire crayon, and you don't need to go super fast. You can take your time, but you're just trying to get some colors. So I'll do a few more for you. We have some orange there, and how about some of this nice kind of lavender color. It's kind of like Parmesan cheese, right? You're shredding the cheese. Okay, how about a nice blue? And it's okay if all these colors mix together, or if you want, you can keep them separate. That's up to you. Okay, a little blue, and real quick, we'll do one more color. We'll do a little bit of this. It's kind of like a teal. It's a light green color. You can use any colors that you want, but I chose sort of bright, springy, summery colors. And you can see that you're not using your whole entire crayon, so it's not like you're going to, have to use up your whole box of crayons for this. Okay, so we have that. Now let's set this aside for a minute. And then this is the tricky part for me on the video recording, because really, if I were you, I would do this on top of an ironing board, because you're going to build your beautiful design on a piece of wax paper, and then I'm going to have to carry my wax paper across the room to my ironing board because I don't have a way for the ironing board to be close to my video. But for you, maybe you want to do this right on top of the ironing board. Okay, if you do that, put a piece of newspaper on the ironing board first. Okay, so newspaper, wax paper. This piece that I have is pretty big. Look, both my hands fit on there. You do not have to be that big. You can do little bitty pieces. In fact, that might be even more beautiful. So I think I'm going to keep mine small, even though I have this big piece of paper. So the first step is to get some of those pretty leaves and flower petals and just different things that you found outside and line them up. This one's a little stuck together. Just line them up in a way that looks good to you. You're just going to put them down on here. Maybe you can make a design. Maybe you can make it look like it's a person or somebody, a little fairy made out of leaves and flowers. It's up to you. They can be really random and just things sticking out here and there. And let's see, I'll take one of these and maybe another of these. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do from now on, or for now. That's what I'm going to do. Now I want to make sure to leave some distance here. Don't go all the way over to the edge or off of the edge. Keep them in a little bit, because when we iron this, we want these layers of wax paper, you'll see in a minute, to stick together. So we need to leave a little edge around there. Sorry, I'm not talking very well today. Okay, now back to the crayons that we cut up. Choose whatever color you like and sprinkle a little bit around here and there. Remember, when you heat this up with an iron, these crayon bits, they're made of wax and they are going to melt. So you do not need a ton of these. A few little sprinkles is better, I think, because if you put a lot, next thing you know, you have a very melty, waxy design and you can't really see your leaves. Okay, so can you see how much I put on there? That's about all I'm going to do for now. Okay, and you can make as many of these as you want, or as your parents let you have as much wax paper, so you can make several. Alright, then you're going to take the other piece of wax paper and put it over the top like a sandwich. If you want to, you could put a book on the top of it to smush it down for a little while and go do something else, but you don't have to. Okay, now I'm going to do something tricky. I'm going to see if I can turn my camera and take a video of me over there, which is where my ironing board is. So, stay with me. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I got the camera set up. Let's see if this works. I'm carefully carrying over my okay, let's see if this works. I'm carefully carrying over my design, and hello, hi. You're not going to be able to see all of me, I guess, but that's okay. You know what I look like. All right, here is my newspaper down first. This is because I don't want any wax to get on the ironing board, because if I did this when I was in school and I got wax on the ironing board, my mom would not have appreciated it. Okay, then I put my wax paper. Remember, it's like the wax paper, the leaves and crayons, and another layer of wax paper. Okay, that's here. Now you want to put another layer of newspaper over the top, just to make sure everything is protected. Now ahead of time I heated up the iron so it's pretty hot. We don't want to leave it on here for a really long time. Why? What do you think will happen if I held this iron in one place for a really long time on top of this paper? I think we would have maybe some paper burning. Okay, so you saw how I did that. I moved the iron around and it's still pretty hot here. If I touch the paper, it's pretty hot, so be careful. Okay, you're going to lift up your newspaper and take a peek. Okay, mine isn't quite done, but I want to show you. Alright, now, see, it's really not very easy to see. How about this? Okay, this is the other side of it. Okay, my leaves are sandwiched in there. The crayons have melted. The wax paper, the wax on the wax paper has melted together, so it's kind of like a leaf and crayon sandwich here. or quesadilla. Yeah, it's more like a quesadilla. Okay, so you might want to go one more time. You don't have to press hard with the iron because the iron is already heavy enough. All right. And remember, don't leave it in one place for too long because you can burn this paper. So we'll get that newspaper out of the way. Let's take another peek. Okay, it looks like this. They're pretty fun, and if you want to, you can even hang these in the window and sunlight will come through and those crayons will look beautiful like a stained glass window with sunlight coming through. So, I can't tell if I'm looking at the camera or not. I think maybe now. I hope you liked this and have a good time with this. Make lots of them if you want and send pictures. But have a great summer. This is your last art lesson of the year. So have a wonderful summer and I will see you next year. Bye-bye. Don't forget to turn the iron off at the end. Bye. Hey, guess what? I forgot to tell you one more thing. Remember I said if you didn't have wax paper, how you could do this with another type of paper? Well, you can do this. Get a piece of whatever paper you have. This is printer paper. Fold it in half. Open it up. And then take those crayon bits that you didn't use and sprinkle them on here. You got them. You might as well use them. Okay. So I sprinkled them on the paper. I can move them around a little bit if I want. For this one, I'm just using the crayons. I am not adding any leaves to this one. Then I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm carefully going to carry it back to my iron. You don't get to watch this part because I don't want to change my camera again. I'm doing the exact same thing as before. I put the newspaper on top. This card this piece of paper is already folded in half with those crayons inside. And I am ironing, ironing, ironing. Don't forget to turn off the iron when you're done. Then come back. Here I come, here I come. Okay, now look what happens when I open it up. If you don't open it right away, it'll probably stick together a little bit. But we just melted wax, that's all. It's funny. It looks, you know, maybe you can make something out of this. You might draw with a pen or something or a marker. Maybe this is a flower field or something. But you can keep going. You can just add more on here, fold it, melt it again, sprinkle more, fold it, melt it again, and you'll have yourself a beautiful kind of abstract flowery, colorful design. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm leaving. Goodbye. Have a great summer.